Okay, Nikki, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good. I want to thank you for taking the time to meet with me, and this is going to be our second session. So we have our assessments. The assessment that I asked you to take for me was the wellness assessment, and it's pretty much going to tell you the results of your overall wellness as a person. So let's go ahead and take a look at your results. We have your overall wellness is 75. How do you feel about that score?
I think it's average. It should be about average.
Okay. And when you think about yourself as average, how does that make you feel?
At least I'm not below average.
Okay. So it's a good score for you.
Yeah, it's fine. It's decent.
Okay. So let's focus on something that I did see when I was reviewing your results. I did see within your coping self that your stress management was 56.3.
That's about accurate. I tend to not really deal with stress too much. I just alleviate the issue or just leave it as is until I'm at a better place to deal with it. So that's about accurate.
Okay.
Half of the time.
How would you say the stresses of your life, what would be one of them at this point?
Career is mostly career. Day-to-day functions are usually on or close to scheduling, and it works for me. But career, the uncertainty of careers is where the stress comes in. School and classes and all of these other things, you're trying to get yourself prepared to be a professional. So I think that's where the stress comes in.
Okay. Now, going over your stress management, I did notice that your realistic beliefs are also low, are at a 55.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say that goes hand in hand with your stress management?
Not really. Realistically, things that might seem to make sense to others really don't make sense to me. I think I'm more of an abstract mind. I think things through, and I think of ways to accomplish the same thing differently.
Mm-hmm.
So for one person, realistically, that might work, and they will just go with that, but not necessarily for me. So I noticed too, now that you pointed that out, in my creative self, the thinking part is a high factor for me because I do think things through quite a bit. So
right, and it's at a 75. I did notice that you're very balanced in the creative self.
Yes.
Overall, your creative self, your thinking, emotions, control, work, and positive humor are all at a 75.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that typically works for me. I'm pretty balanced in that regard. When I think things through, it usually flows well.
Mm-hmm.
So realistically, I don't really go with the Joneses.
Okay. So even though you have the stress management and the realistic beliefs at a low
Mm-hmm.
score, you're still able to cope yourself overall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty well. Leisurely, and for my self-worth, I tend to kind of take care of myself regardless of stress. So yeah, I think that's probably why that's higher.
So how are some of the ways that you cope with your stress on an everyday?
Well, day to day, where I just go to work and go home, it's really not much of a big deal to deal with the stress. When I have to incorporate school or outside work, outside of my job and outside of school is where the stress comes into play. It's not enough hours in the day. So I probably will break that up in segments. What I can accomplish one day, what can I accomplish the next day, and work on a schedule. And I'll just continue it until it's completed that way. But my day-to-day life, I really don't have much stress out of the ordinary. So
Mm-hmm.
with work and school, I try to balance that out as best I can.
Okay, which it relates to your creative self and how balanced you are.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you say that you use your creative self to be able to cope with stress management and realistic beliefs?
Maybe. maybe stress management. Realistic beliefs really don't matter to me, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they're like low and hanging by themselves at the end. But stress management probably I'll take more into consideration my creative self, and that overrides that stress part.
Okay. Okay. So looking at your social self, it's very balanced too. Same score. Friendship and love are very important to you. I see.
Yeah, it usually goes together. In my personal relationship with my spouse and with my friends, I kind of have everybody at a distance, so to speak, where I can observe everybody personally. And the degree of love and friendship has to go together, or else we won't work out as a
Okay.
friend or in a relationship.
Okay. Okay. So would you say that you agree with your scores?
I do, actually. I do. They measure me pretty well.
Okay. So would you say they describe yourself very well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So now looking at the what would you like to work on the scores that you see right now? What would you say would be an area that you would like to improve?
Improve, I probably would like to explore more of, let's see. Maybe I'd like to explore more of what a realistic belief would mean to normal people. And I say normal very loosely, but the average person, since it doesn't really seem to matter to me as much. And even as you're asking me this, I really don't have an explanation, because I don't think realistically all the time. I think of things that make sense to me in a situation, not like the normal way of going about something. So maybe we can explore that to see what an average person would say is a realistic belief, and how they'll go about addressing that.
Okay, so maybe we can look a little bit at the definition of what a realistic belief is, and then maybe we can explore a little bit of what you think it means for you as a person.
Okay.
So the assessment identifies the realistic belief as the ability to process information and perceive reality accurately. It also says lack of unrealistic beliefs, such as the belief that one must be perfect in all ways in order to be worthwhile, that everyone must like me, or I am not a good person, or the belief that if things don't go as I wish, that will be awful. Being able to separate reality from wishful thinking, understanding that I cannot be perfect, controlling the thoughts about what I should and should not do to make me happy.
Well, then that makes sense, because on average, I really don't mind what people think about me,
Right.
so to speak. I think even from your score, like my creative self, my emotions are intact, even though I'm stressed.
Right.
My feelings, my relationships, they're fully intact, and I'm fully comfortable with them. So I guess it really doesn't matter too much about what people really think or how people perceive who I am. So I guess that's one of the reasons why realistically it doesn't matter to me. But then you also said something about feeling as though I need to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that, but I am a stickler. It needs to be the best of my ability.
Right.
So something that I can produce would be, oh, that's great to somebody else. But for me, I know that if I didn't spend a certain amount of time on it, or if I didn't explore all options, then that wasn't my best work. So although I might get the compliment that that's great, within myself I might say, I missed out on a couple of other things.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that might provoke a thought in me, but not necessarily to feel that I'm perfect. So again, I guess that's another reason why I don't really think too much about that. because I try my best all the time, I guess.
Okay. So you said that when things don't go your way, you feel like you don't do the best work. Is that what you're saying?
No, if they don't go my way, that's fine. I'm very able to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
But if I am expected to do something prestigiously and I
Right.
do it in a way that is good to somebody else, but for me personally, the way that I measure my work,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be a little bit better than that. I'll take the compliment, but I know for myself, I might feel that it wasn't the best.
Okay.
So it might strike a chord in me, and I might have to think about it again and probably reproduce it to feel better about it, or the next time do a little bit more
Right.
than before. So yeah, I can see that being a small thing that I can probably reconsider.
Okay.
Being perfect, not so much, but being my perfect
Right.
is what I strive for. So yeah.
And how would you say your perfect quote unquote looks like?
My perfect quote unquote is very precise, like very direct, very clean, very clear.
Okay.
If I give you something, there's no questions about it afterwards. That's my perfect.
Okay.
If I give you something right now and you say, oh, that's nice, and I see that there's a flaw with it because I didn't spend that extra time on it, then I might say, yeah, that's nice, but also this should have been X, or this could have been X.
Mm-hmm.
And I will reproduce and give it to you so that you can see what it is capable of doing.
Mm-hmm.
But you might not see that. You might see it as, oh, it's good.
Okay.
So my perfect is very clean, direct, with no questions after.
So how would you say how you handle when the things that you do are not precise or clear or not your perfect, like we said, quote
I
unquote?
wouldn't give it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I do have to give it in its imperfect state at that time, I will give a disclaimer.
Okay.
Or I will ask for an additional timing to get that done. But yeah, I'm very, for myself, I have a very high standard for myself.
Right.
So if I don't really measure to my standard, forget everybody else's. It's really the realistic part of it doesn't matter about what anybody else's standard is for me.
Sure.
But if it doesn't measure to my standard, then yes, I will ask for some accommodation, or I will give a disclaimer to it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll feel better about it, and then I wouldn't mind that this is good but not great.
Right. Okay. And how do you think that works with your overall wellness?
I think it works good because I feel like a little bit of anxiety really kicks you in the right places to get what you need to get done.
Right.
So it works fine for me, especially at work. Like if you look just now at my creative self, work, emotion, all that is balanced. Even though I'm under pressure at work, the emotions still stay intact and the job gets done precisely. Even if there are questions after, because working in corporate, it's not always like black and white. There are some grays.
Right.
And even in those gray areas, I'm still able to maintain giving disclaimer,
Right.
asking for extra time, or providing the explanation, even though my perfect at the time was off of my discretion.
Right.
So when it relates to work, that's what I would do. When it relates to regular life, if it's not my perfect, where discretion or no discretion,
Right.
I would then have to produce my best.
So how would you say, because you did say that anxiety is like a pusher for you to do
Yeah.
the things well.
I think that's normal for everybody, right? Like if you're so laid back, you don't have any ammunition to do anything.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think so.
So it sounds like the uncomfortable feelings push you to be better. Is anxiety a uncomfortable feeling for you?
Yeah, I guess you can say that. You can say that. When you're anxious about something, you just need to, I don't know about anybody else, but for me, if something is really riding on my conscience or is really that anxiety, anxious feeling, it needs to get done. Like, it just needs to get done and out of the way. So I guess that, yeah, that's what it is.
Okay. So thinking about how the uncomfortable feelings, let's call it that way, that push you to do better. Are there any other feelings or situations that would push you to do something better with the things that you can't control?
I don't know. The only thing that in my current life now that can push me to do better will be school.
Okay.
That's something that needs to get out of the way, like right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think school will be that thing that will push me to just get it done, give it the best, my best, and get it out of the way.
So from what I'm hearing from you, it sounds like you're a pretty well balanced person. You know yourself, you know your strengths, you know where you should work a little bit better. There's always an area that we could work on. Would I say that that describes yourself pretty well?
It does. It does.
Okay. Now let's look at some other scores. Which one would you like to discuss? Looking at your overall areas of wellness.
Maybe the life satisfaction one.
Okay. Is that a 75?
Yeah, I think that's mediocre. I feel like I'm not 100% satisfied with my life as is.
Okay.
I'm still young, and I still feel like exploration of the world and my career can go but so far, and I'm just like barely scratching the surface of it.
Okay.
So I feel like 75 is actually pretty high, higher than I expected, because I
Okay.
personally thought it'd be like maybe a 65, 70 maybe, because I know for a fact after I'm done with school, my career can definitely take a huge launch.
Okay.
So 75 is actually pretty high.
So how would you define satisfaction in your life?
My satisfaction is well-rounded. It's my life at home, my academic career, my future career, and I'm just barely scratching the surface of all of those things right now. So once all of that is accomplished, and I see myself having my own practice and being in a different country, then I see that my career has definitely reached its plateau, and I can get comfortable and I can start feeling satisfied. Right now, I think my hunger is still great. Yeah.
So I know you said that 75 is pretty high, as in the wellness, because you thought it was at a 65.
I thought it should have been a 65.
Okay.
Yeah. Thought it should have been a 65, but I guess whatever the definition was, it counted some part of my love and friendship and overall creativity. I guess it incorporated those, since those were at a great high too.
Right.
It's ironic that they're all the same 75, right?
Yeah.
So I figured that they probably incorporated that to mean that overall I'm satisfied. And I am happy with where I am right now. But for it to say life satisfaction, that's incorrect. It should just be overall satisfaction, maybe. Because I feel like my life has more.
Okay. So now, as we go over your results and what you talked about, I wanted to discuss our possibility of maybe creating a treatment plan together.
Sure.
And see what you would like to work on.
Okay.
So, we did speak about your balance and how you deal with stressors in your life, your self-care, your leisure and your coping self overall. So looking at your results for everything, how would you wanna, or what would you wanna work on, and how would you wanna work it on?
I guess we can do stress management.
Okay.
We can learn some techniques of how to manage that stress while where academics are concerned, because that's where my biggest stress is.
Okay.
We can do that.
Okay, so how would you, how do you cope with stress right now?
I balance it out in my schedule. Wherever it fits, wherever I have more time, I'll do the tougher stuff. And wherever I have less time, I'll do the things that are a little bit more easier. So I balance out school throughout the week
Okay.
for myself so that I don't get overwhelmed. But I feel like the stress will always be there until I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as coping skills, currently, what are you using besides balancing? Are there any activities that you do to release stress?
Well, I guess this is where my leisure comes in, which is why it's probably so high. Because during the week when I'm stressed, quote unquote, with my 2 classes and schoolwork and stuff, on my leisure time, I definitely take care of myself.
Okay, so self-care is important for you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and I definitely spend time with my family, and that's typically how the overall stress will work out for me when it comes to school. When it comes to life stress, you saw that they were the same with the creative self. They were balanced because my life doesn't have much stress.
Okay.
It's just this.
Okay. So you're saying that you want to work on your stress management. So far you said that you balance your schedule with school and that leisure and self-care are very important to you. So it sounds like you're working at the stress management. So how different with me would you like to work it on together?
I guess maybe what I'm doing is basic, and you as a professional probably can help me out with techniques or other ideas that I might be able to use, or any suggestions that you might have.
So what do you like to do? What did you enjoy in your life?
I don't know, can you elaborate on that question a little bit?
The reason why I ask is because the techniques, I would like you to bring that out to the table instead of me suggesting it to you. So let's explore what techniques you could use or what activities you could use for stress management. What did you enjoy in life that could take that stress away, or at least relieve it for a certain period of time?
Well, I thought that I was doing it with family, like being around my family, and I thought that maybe like my self-care methods were either taking care of myself with hanging out with my friends, doing like small pampering sessions for myself. I thought that's what I was doing already, but I don't know like if there are any like other therapeutic ways I can manage stress. I don't know.
Okay. Have you heard of meditation?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever tried it?
Yoga.
Okay.
Yoga.
Has yoga worked for you in the past?
It has. Now with school, trying to find the time to get that in. I do a small, like 10-minute wake up stretch and do my devotion and pray in the mornings. But I guess, I don't know, maybe I can find another time throughout the day to incorporate that, maybe. Okay. I see that yoga can probably fit in
Okay.
again. Okay.
So we could try and make that part of the treatment plan. Yoga as that type of technique to relieve the stress. Anything else that you can think of? Maybe some breathing techniques. Have you tried any of those?
Breathing. No, because I mean, I guess maybe I was doing it backwards. I would only do breathing techniques when I'm upset about something.
Okay.
And not necessarily stressed. Because stress usually is either because I'm tired. I think I get stressed because I'm tired, not necessarily because the things are overwhelming.
Okay.
Which is why I can understand my 8 hours at work is balanced because I'm not tired when I go to work. But it's after when I'm leaving and I have to go to a 4 or 5 hour class.
Right.
You're tired, so you do get stressed out.
Right.
So I can see, I don't know, maybe I guess breathing is something that I can incorporate at the end of the day, I guess.
Okay. Would you say that that would work? Because if it doesn't work for you, we don't want to put it on the treatment plan.
I don't know. We can try it because all of these things work at some point.
Right.
Now we just need to incorporate them together. So we can try that. We can put breathing techniques on the treatment plan.
Now, when you get stressed, have you paid attention on maybe the thoughts that you're having at the moment of stressing?
Honestly, not really. But I think when I'm stressed, there are very minimal thoughts. I think it's more of a natural reaction. Your body gets tense, you just get fatigued, and that's my definition of stress. I don't really have like, I don't know, like those negative thoughts or any angry thoughts. I don't really have that when I'm stressed. That I just need to go to sleep. I just need to get something to eat. I just need to relax. That's how my stress works for me. I really don't have like too many things going on in my head, because even if I'm stressed out and somebody in my family calls me, I'm okay afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I don't think it's an angry stress. I think it's more along the lines of, I'm just fatigued and I need to rest type of stress. So maybe we can also put like, on my leisure time, instead of doing something, I probably should take a nap or two.
Okay.
So maybe I can do that in between whatever it is I got going on. Maybe if the day permits, I can take a nap. Would actually kind of help out.
Okay. So, I don't know if you're familiar with this theory, but there's a theory called the cognitive behavioral theory. And what it says is that the way that we think and the thoughts that we have and the way that we feel affect the way that we behave. So, I think that we should look a little bit more into your stress and what is causing your stress. Maybe there's some thoughts there that you're having, even unconsciously, even if they're not negative thoughts. The thoughts are probably contributing to the stress. So would that be something that you would like to explore more in therapy?
I guess we can talk about it. I can hear what you have to say about that. Maybe I'm not aware of thoughts, but I don't know. I feel like stress for me is more feeling oriented. It's more, I just need to debrief and rest. I feel like my schedule gets a bit hectic throughout the weeks. I work more than 40 hours, and I go to school twice a week for 10 hours. It's a lot of time.
Right.
Without sleeping. And my personal life is actually getting more hectic too. So I don't know. Maybe it's just, I don't know. We can explore that. We can. I'm open to that recommendation.
So from what you're telling me, it sounds like you're in life right now, you're very overwhelmed. So it sounds like stress is your coping skill to work on the overwhelming situation. It's your natural response.
Wait, say that again?
It sounds like your stress is a natural response to the overwhelming situations in your life at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Again, if I was not in school, that extra 10 hours a day, 10 hours a week, plus the extra study time that you have to do and the extra work that you have to do at your home or at the library or wherever else you have to go and do it, I feel like that will give me more time in my personal life to welcome all of the new changes and welcome the excitement around that and actually welcome more rest.
Sure.
But in the midst of that, I do have this extra commitment now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the stress come in, because you have to work.
Right.
It's a choice to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's a conflicting factor for me. And it is the last year and a half for me at least. So hopefully it'll get better after the semesters progress. But I feel like the stress management when it comes to academics is something that I really do want to explore. You did suggest exploring thoughts after the stress does occur, and that's fine. So we can go ahead and look into that too.
Okay. So it sounds that for the stress management, we can use some skill building techniques to just incorporate more, because